Imagine a spiritual pathway that addresses your physical health, emotional frequency, mental clarity, and spiritual well-being, all in perfect harmony. This isn't just an ideal. It's the comprehensive nature of the Goddess Emergence Show with Dr. Brie Gibbs, a spiritual leader, healer, and trance medium who, alongside of Goddess Bell, the creator, and other masters, will share information never before released on the planet to help guide and evolve humanity, and along the way, heal the four dimensions of body, emotions, mind, and spirituality. This show is about true spirituality, offering a new earth narrative and effective path to well-being as it accelerates the journey of our spiritual evolution to keep pace in this rapidly changing world. Get ready to emerge the goddess within each of us, both the feminine and the masculine. If you have any questions about yourself that you have no answers to, this is the show for you. Let's emerge together and emerge better. Now here is your host, Dr. Brie Gibbs.
Welcome, everyone. When I see some people on TikTok or Instagram or any of the social medias, I see this bright light in them. It's not so much what they're saying. I see the light around them. And I look at them, I go, I need to meet that person. So who we have on today, Natasha Venter. The thing is that I watched some of her TikToks and what she had said, and I thought, I need to interview this woman. She was so interesting. So I'm gonna bring her on right away because I have a lot to talk about. Hi, Natasha, and welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm so grateful.
Oh, we're grateful to have you. So, the things about you that was really interesting, and we've talked several times since I, got a hold of
We've
you.
actually became pretty good friends,
Yes,
I feel.
yes, and I feel the same. There's no mistakes for the Creator sends people. Um, the thing is what I saw in you is the information that you gave that a lot of people have forgotten about. And it's like, we're in this, I call it graduate university. They say schoolhouse, I say graduate school, and what we're
Yes.
all going through. And you have brought things like the Akashic records, your clarifications and everything. So I want to start with, first of all, finding you was a gift.
Thank
But
you.
I want you to
I
tell me a
feel the
little
same.
about, thank you. I want you to tell me more about your background.
So I am one that just started all off is that, I remember so much of my beginning years.
Hmm.
Like I remember being born. I remember going through, being up in the hospital room, watching my mom and the doctor and the nurse because this was like at 4 in the morning, that time, and it was back in the 60s, so things were pretty simplistic, you know and I remember going through, even seeing inside my mom's womb. I mean,
Yeah.
inside, you know, and then popping out and seeing the doctor. I mean, white mask, he was a little pudgy around the face, the glasses, and it's just like, he was a little bit older, the hat, type of thing. And that and all, and I remember my mom picking me up out of the crib because I remember, my head popping up and then seeing my mom, and I was an infant, because that action that an infant does, how a parent would come down and cradle you and that kind of thing. And so, and then, walking with my dad, even on my dad's shoulders when I was 1, 2, and then stubbing my toe when I was 3, all these different things that I just remember. And during that time that I've always had these understandings, like I remember sitting at a big book, you know, this big book of and making choices. No, not, and I remember hearing myself, nope, not in this lifetime. Nope, not in that lifetime. Nope, not in this lifetime. Nope. Yeah, I can do that. No, I can't do that, and then and it wasn't necessarily an angel, but had that angelic realm to him. You know, I even see wings on him, but he's not necessarily like, and this is a memory. It's not a meditation. A lot of people think, oh, that's just a meditation. No, oh no, no, this is what I
Mm-mm.
grew up in. And and so knowing that, and then having these like daydreams, I would call them as a kid. But just standing out of a hut, and having five braves in front of me while I'm holding my two kids, knowing my husband was never going to come home again. Even though in the Western days you didn't have communication, right? I just had that knowing. Or being in a cave with many other healers and then being rocked, or food thrown at me as I was walking through the town. These were just, and then, or being at a house, I was like about five, and a dad coming home, and I knew that he was the murderer. He was a murderer. And my dad murdered
Wow,
me
wow, wow,
as
wow,
of
wow.
murdering, because I knew it. So when I say I'm a multi-life intuitive, it's like I've been intuitive many lifetimes, many dimensional worlds around me. At that time, I'd call them past lives, but I know now they're, for many, many years that they're not past lives. They're just different dimensional timelines. I remember actually watching the Earth being made, that the earth was being made, and sitting on top of like a spaceship, and then actually being pushed off that spaceship because I just had too many knowings, right there. And being intuitive in many lifetimes, that I really got that in this lifetime it was meant for me to have a voice, finally, that I was meant to shine my light as the intuitive that I am, in spite of the world around me. And so that's been a deep calling for me, is to, I've always felt like I was like in a short room, because I would keep hitting my head because no matter what I would do, I just couldn't express myself. And I found somebody who could do the work I do. And she actually did a lot of clearing on me on a lot of old contracts because they wanted me to dim my light. They constantly wanted to dim my light. The time I was a dragon, the shackles. To this day I still can't wear bracelets, and or something around my ankles. It's like, because it was such a palatable lifetime. And so I have these understandings, I'm going to call them, of just, and even now today, I walk from different dimensions and gain information from different dimensions. Like I was telling you the other day about Sabrina. I
Hmm.
am Sabrina in another lifetime, and she's got a
Can,
cauldron, and
yeah, tell us more about Sabrina. That was really interesting.
so Sabrina is someone who, she lives, and I see her kind of like in the timeline of, let's say, Ireland, and in that kind Scotland timelines where, you lived in the woods and nobody really came, and the town was a little bit further off because she was the weird one. She was the one that didn't necessarily get along with anybody else. She didn't mind being by herself. And if you looked at her walls, it's like just herbs and frog's feet and, nips of this and naps of that, and all these different names, that she just has this understanding. And in this lifetime, I didn't want to deal with medicines. I didn't want to deal with herbs. I've done it many lifetimes. I just was like, I just want to get my path going. I just want to be me in this lifetime. I didn't want to be bothered. And so with Sabrina, she's one that she has all, she's got all the knowledge. She's got knowledge from many lifetimes that I've lived. And so I ask her sometimes to brew things for me. If I need a medicine to brew for somebody, or like there was one time that had, I walked into her business and she kind of knew a little bit about me, and we were talking, and she goes, I feel like I got somebody eavesdropping on me. So I asked Sabrina to look at it, and to do a brew for me. So she did a witchy brew, I'm going to call it, that only she knows, because she puts magic in it, she puts herbs in it, she does her little magic brew, and she, through the ethers, gave me it, and no, it's not necessarily in my hand for real, but yet it is for real, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so then I just do my little spray around there, and they nullify things. It's like, so with that I use a lot of those different dimensional walks to really support my clients that I work with,
Hmm.
and to negotiate a lot of the things that I've had to negotiate with. Not to say that I do dark magic, but it's like sometimes you need to have magic to work with magic.
Now, I'd like to stop you there. That is not dark magic.
No, I know that, but
Yeah,
the language I'm using for people who know, who brew into the more, like the darker, the not they're not wanting to help people as much, you know what I
Right,
mean? So
right.
it's
And the
another
reason,
language, and this is what we've talked about, that sometimes you have language for here and I have language over here, and we try to bring it over, into the same coin. So,
Mhm.
it's one of those things. So,
No, I totally agree with you, and that's why I like them that my listeners to understand that even though we go through dimensions and we bring different herbs or whatever comes to me, right? Because I don't want to say a lot about that, but there was some healing that was done on my foot. That was done off planet. They on my foot, right? And it looks like I had stem cell surgery.
mhm,
And so it's like to me that that's great to talk about because I had neuropathy. And I was like, going, how am I going to fix this? I'm taking the pill, it's not working. And of course, the plant doctors took care of it and they grew back, and I'm fine.
mhm,
So what you're talking about is very real. And people need to understand that, that all that help is accessible to us if you're willing to, how do I say, surrender and believe,
trust and
trust,
accept that
and
that is the case.
do not second guess anything. You know,
Exactly, exactly. I know, like, for me, that, a stool broke out from underneath my foot. Or my feet, and I twisted my ankle, couldn't walk on it pretty much all summer because I chose not to. My foot
mhm.
did not wanna be walked on. I went to the chiropractor, I did some stuff, and it wasn't healing, and it wasn't doing anything that was, negotiated things that were happening, and so with that we did a little bit of energy work on it, and to this day, people said, "Why don't you get a boot?" And I said, "No, my foot does not wanna be walked on."
Right.
And so we did some energy work, and to this day, I dance for 5 hours, I do all this different thing. I mean, it's like things just happen, and and I know that we're coming up on a break, but, it's like my dad was a chiropractor, and so I've always
Oh,
learned about energy. He was one of the first chiropractors that did the muscle testing in the state of Washington, and he used me as a surrogate, so I've learned about the conduit of energy and the negotiation of energy, and so I love to use that in the I'm gonna use it to play, because I don't like to bring negative things into my business,
right,
it's like
right, right.
the play of the negotiation of where we're at and what we can do to uplift where people are at, you know?
I
So
totally agree. I totally agree with that. And that's what this show's all about, is uplifting and letting people be their true authentic self,
mhm.
no matter who they are. We're going to take a break in a little bit. The other thing is, how does this represent you in the creator's light or spirit, whatever word you want to use?
How does this represent me?
Hmm.
Well, I walk with the creator's love.
There you go. There you go.
I walk with creator's love, and that's the light that a lot of people see me with,
Hmm.
is that I walk with. I know where I came from. I know the light that I was brought off of,
Hmm.
and then, how I became form and all that kind of stuff. So, it's like I just walk from dimension and worlds to realities. And that's one thing I love to do, is support people from the 3D world to bring into their truth, because it's all
Right.
about finding their truth.
Right.
And truth is truth, but the only one that I know is divine love is the truth.
Right, right. And we all have our own truth. That's what's
Yep.
so exciting about everything. And we're going to take a short break. Be right back with Natasha and I and Transparency Talk Network. Welcome back, everyone. So we're back with Natasha. And what's really fun about this one is she walks through worlds like I do. I want to talk about that a little bit. And it's so much fun. People don't understand walking through worlds. My way is traveling, as a trans being traveling through and bring them down. You can bring them down, or you can take yourself there. How do you do it?
Actually, I just say, where do I need to go? And I just go. You know, like, if I'm going to, like, use the eyes of a hawk, I just take a minute, honor the hawk who wants to
Right.
take me with them, and then I just negotiate it. And I understand that I don't always need to go to them,
Hmm.
but sometimes I want to honor them and meet them in the middle.
Right.
Because why should they always be doing work for me? It's like I wanna honor them And so sometimes, and I'm a flyer. I have so many wings. Hawk is my owl is my totems, you know, crow is my totem. You know, it's like there I just and I'm an angel, fairy, you know, I have so many wings that it's like me to stay grounded. There's another story, and I don't ever worry about being grounded. I really my intention is always to be more centered where I'm at. You know, like you hold a pencil and pencils aren't always in the center, right? You know,
Right,
sometimes their
right.
balance is over here, sometimes their balance is over here. And one time I did that on my show and I actually balanced a pencil right at the point. And so
I could just see that one. I got pencil, it's teetering on me, you know?
and so it's like and so centeredness gives you ability to be more that neutrality where life is happening around you. And sometimes you don't want to be grounded in a place. You want to be kind of being able to just be able to negotiate what you're in. And a lot of people get, I think, I'm kind of swirling here, but kind of get sidetracked on being grounded. But I know for me being centered,
Mhm.
that gives me the ability to know that if I just need to step like, there was one time where, I work in elementary school, and I felt pink eye coming to me, and
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
said, "Oh, that's not I'm free from that reality," because I don't like to use the word "not." "I'm free from that reality," and I just stepped over in another reality that was a cleaner eye, used a little castor oil, positive energy to my eye, and I kept positive thinking about it, and by the end of the day, I had nothing. I've had it before, so I knew those feelings that were coming forward,
Mhm.
and I just stepped over into another dimension that was just over, kinda like being over in your screen, right?
Right.
Just over just that little bit to just be that healthier person, and, that's the thing is that you know, a lot of times everybody's intuitive. Everybody can
Mhm.
do this. The difference is I trust it. I don't question it. I don't question if something is feels stupid or I don't judge it that way. I don't actually judge. Why should I do it? If I haven't done it in this lifetime, I've done it in others, so why should I judge, right?
Right, you don't
So
have to repeat that again.
what's that?
You don't wanna have to repeat that lesson again.
Exactly. So why should I judge? And so with that I don't whatever comes to me, I have to believe that it's the universe bringing it to me. And so my mind, I've been actually grateful in this lifetime because my mind was able to negotiate saying, "Oh, well, there's a new idea. Okay." Right? Where a lot of people's brains go, no, no, it's one of those things. And so my brain just says, I got it. It's coming home. I got, it's like
Right.
because my higher self is so involved with the energies of my mindset, that it's almost one, and so with me that my downloads, my understandings, my beings, aren't necessarily separate in any form. And so for me to do things is so like it's just right there. And I don't try to take advantage of that. I don't take what's the word? I don't take it's not like, well, that's going to happen to me, that expectation. I try
Right.
to have that. It's like, so like if I know a session is going to be a little bit more, I do tap into just, that, getting ready, being in the moment,
Mhm.
type of thing. But, most of the time things happen to me like I never take notes for any of my shows because it's so like interwoven in the moments that I just believe what I'm supposed to do is where I'm supposed to go.
Right. And that's really good because that's what we talk about is trust, believe, and don't second guess. And you're doing exactly what I saw you do on TikTok. And that's why you're here because it's like your light and the way you talk, it brings happiness and joy to many. So, the
I'm
one thing I want to talk about is, with both of us that travel through worlds, that's something that we just do. That's just
mhm.
normal for people like us. The other thing is, with traveling through the world, is there a way that you can help others, people heal from your travels?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
And it's not necessarily that it's up to me to heal. It's up to them to believe that they can heal.
Correct. Very correct.
I present this opportunity for healing. This is a perception, but then again, at the same time, though, like I tell people, like when because I have a thing where I rewrite contracts. People, can rewrite their contracts in this lifetime. It's one of our acceptances that we have in this lifetime. And a lot of people think, well, I was born with that, so I have to have it. No, you don't. You can rewrite your contracts, and understanding that. But I also have an understanding that a lot of times when we want to heal something, we have to go in and negotiate the 3D bodies,
Mm.
patterns, those knowings. And so like when I rewrote my contract with electronics, that I had to actually sit in front of a computer and say, Natasha, you got to sit here. You got to sit here and work through the anxiety that you have to negotiate being in front of doing this, right? So there's that pattern that you have to work through in the 3D body. And like I told people, that you can heal like this, but the cells still have to negotiate. The nervous system still has to negotiate.
Right.
Those other things that have to negotiate with. And so we have to repattern, reprogram the subconscious sometimes, because it's a little bit slower, and it's about being. And like I always use this kind of metaphor that, like if you have a semi truck with a trailer, right? And
Uh-huh.
so our spirit and our brains are the semi truck, and they get ideas and they go and they want to go do things, and then they forget, oh, wait a minute, we got to pick up the trailer, the body. The body has to come along for the ride. And it's in the, so we have to go back, and sometimes the mind and the spirit kind of go, okay, and then the truck and trailer. And I grew up in a trucking family, so it's like it's that kerclunk when you're real, when you're hooking up to the trailer, and the body goes, oh yeah, I'm a part of this dance, right? And you go forward. So it's about gaining that whole process, like me with my downloads, and I noticed that my digestive system was off the last couple days, right? And so what am I doing is I'm working with my gut, asking it to align with the new energies. And because of the gut mind, the heart mind, and the mind, right? We have to work with all of these processes. And a lot of times we forget that doing these healing work, that it is a full facet moment, that we got to add in everybody along with the ride, because our bodies have personalities, our hearts have personalities, and our spirit has personality. We all have these personalities, and how do we negotiate with all of them? So, yes, healing can happen, but it's your perception, your ability to heal. There's some people that like to be in pain. I was having a conversation with my husband about a month ago, and he says, yeah, I got to learn things the hard way. And I go, okay, so you would rather have a broken leg or a bruise? Would you rather learn your experiences through a broken leg, or would you rather have the bruise? And he says, well, I guess if I have to learn it the hard way, yeah, the broken leg.
I'm sorry. No, 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 no. So what
I'm like,
you
but there again, I'm married to this man, and he has his journey. He needs, if that's the way he needs to learn it, so be it. I'm going to give him that opportunity. I'm not, but I'm choosing actually not the bruise. I've learned, and guess what? I ended up having for the next couple days was a couple bruises to remind me that, oh yeah, I had that bruise, but I don't know where it came from. It's like, because we have these bumps and bruises through life that teach us things, and we have to, where do we learn? But that's the thing, is some people, they've just learned that healing is not part of their story, because they have to learn through things. And it's amazing how time is moving fast today, and so going forward, that it's amazing how we can do this work, but it's believing it to the core of us,
right. And that's one thing I talk about is the physical, the emotional, mental, and spiritual. That's all four parts of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And the physical is your health.
Mm-hmm.
That's always first. And then the emotional part of the body and the mental and the spirit part, it has to all come together as one and centered. Spirit body is kind of like going, okay, I'm here. Pay attention to me. Mental body is like going, I'm here too. That's got to be healed and worked on. But the one thing is that you're right about we can only guide them to heal.
Mm-hmm.
We can't heal them. And I've had people say, well, can you heal me of this or that? If I'm going to work with somebody myself, we work as a team.
Mm-hmm.
and I'll give them instructions. If they follow them, they do. If they don't, they don't. Then there's not much I can do. Yeah, it's like hands back, I'm done. So, but you know, but I understand everything you're saying. We just say things different, but it's the same thing. So, we have 2 minutes before the next break, but I want to talk about. Let's see, there's something I saw really interesting about you. That, uh, well, I'm looking for the approach with past lifetimes of yours.
The
How do you approach? So, some people look at the past lifetimes. Oh, that's just a higher self of mine.
mm,
Give us, and some people do. That's
mhm,
just a higher self. And I'm walking, and so I've had several higher selves walk into me to keep me on the planet here to do my journey, right?
mhm,
But the thing is working with the higher selves and the lifetimes you want to call them,
mhm,
does a whole lot for us as spiritual leaders and guides to help people.
mhm.
So, do you bring some of your higher selves to talk to them?
Yes, I do not necessarily question who is giving me the answer. I just know it's light and love that's giving me the answer. So it could be
Right.
my higher self, it could be my guides, it could be their guides, it could be whoever. I do clarify it as the guides are helping us, just to give it their language. But
Hmm.
if that's answering your question, because we're in this moment, but we need to go to break. So I didn't want to go into a deep answer when we're so
Oh,
short.
I think we'll talk about that later again because not today, but on the show because that's a really interesting subject and hearing the two different ways of saying that for people, they maybe understand even more.
Yes.
That's what I like about our show we're doing today. Okay,
Yay.
yeah. So okay, Natasha and I will be right back in a little bit. Back, everyone. This is such exciting time for Natasha and I, especially for me. When we talk about different ways about things, but basically the same thing, which is really kind of cool about the whole thing. Natasha, let's talk about the Akashic Records, how you are able to access them and help people with them.
Okay, so for me, Akashic records are basically lifetimes, right? They're
Hmm.
just lifetimes that we've led, and some of those lifetimes are on different timelines, right? So those different timelines. Now, as I'm going to say, matured my understanding through my lifetime that, the Akashic records are actually the big book. That big book that was flipped open when I was, coming into this world. And I'm going to tell you, if it was closed, that book would have been, in a metaphorical, it would have been huge. So I've always known that I've had many lifetimes coming in. So, but what they did when I was younger, they would show me Akashic records by being like in rooms or in these moments. And it would almost be like, well, to use Harry Potter here, and when they went into the goblet and they tried to find the goblet, they had to go in with the dragon and find the goblet and stuff like that. Those who watched Harry Potter or read Harry Potter would know what I mean. They had to go
Oh,
into the
I'm a Harry Potter fan, so
so
let's go for
it's
it.
like, remember the dragon that they had to ring the bell to get by,
Right,
and they
right.
had to go in. It looked kind of like that. So it was like different rooms, and so for me, other lifetimes and other things, like I tell people when I'm going to be going in and seeing another lifetime, it's what's pertinent for our conversation right now today. Because the fact that you can go to another intuitive and find another lifetime, and they'll go, well, why didn't you find that one? We all have millions of lifetimes, right, that we can apply to. Because for me, I understand our soul right now is never fragmented, but it's doing many different lifetimes of a different diversion or, different thing of where we're at right now and doing things. And so with that the Akashic records for me is just a history book or a history room, or it's like or it's kind of like and there again, Harry Potter, when they went into all these love vials,
Hmm.
of different people's lifetimes. It's like you go the universe, this is what I've learned, is the universe will give you what you need. And so for me, when they show me what I need to see, like they'll take me into a room and they'll show me where to go, um when I say I see, it's kind of like, I don't necessarily see it, like I won't see this glass, but yet
Okay.
I see a big movie going off in my head.
Right.
It's
You
just
know
a
what?
big movie, and people always go, but you see things. Well, yeah, sometimes I see a little fragment of something, but I everything in here is like so vivid and so knowing. It's like if somebody says the rock on the hill, I'll picture the grass and the trees and the ants and it's like I
Right,
have a
right, right,
very
right.
vivid imagination, very dyslexic. So I've always been very imagery in my world, like I'm talking with my hands. Understanding of things. And so the universe really gave me pictures to give me the understanding of how I can, oh, okay, so there's that chest that's hidden behind something. Okay, so what's hidden in this person that needs to work on this?
Right.
What is that piece that's hiding? And so I asked that piece to come forward so that you can look and see what you need to look at. Because a lot of times, like for me, the metaphorical sense that a lot of things are just in chests. They just haven't been opened up in this lifetime to see what to work on. And so sometimes our other knowings, our other timelines, our Akashic records, our history book, whatever you want to use that language, it's available. But a lot of times we just put a lock and key on that memory that is part of this history that we're in right now. So Akashic records, I think, is something. It's another language for looking at another lifetime. It's looking at what do we need to look at. You can do the same thing I find looking into our different chakras. You go
Hmm.
down into the basement of our chakras, and you can go in and really find out what has been hidden in these lifetimes. For me, I had to unchest. I opened up a chest. Chests are very metaphorical for me in my understandings, and so with that chest that I opened up, and all of a sudden this huge being came out, and it was kind of scary at first. Then I realized she was just me. She was just me that needed to come out. And so
Right, right, right.
when you're talking about the higher self coming back,
Hmm.
my language for that is that I've had parts of me that just come home. They just come home and they hug me, and so for me, that's my, oh, I found another piece of the puzzle. I found
Right.
another piece of me. I found another, and I know right now I'm in like the 500-piece puzzle, or the 5,000-piece puzzle, where the pieces are like so small. It's the very glint in the eye that I'm finding, but those little pieces are the pieces that go, ah, I caught it now. Thank you. It's like there again, learning things with the bunks, not the hard lessons anymore, because I'm an observer of life. So,
I get what you're saying because, like with me, um, everything's in my cellular memory,
mhm,
and it's like a filing cabinet,
mhm,
and it's like, are you kidding me? Not again. Another walk. Okay, different things, right? Or just lessons or different things. But you brought up something really interesting. Same thing happens to me. It's like I'm on the big screen watching
mhm,
that lifetime or the experience I'm going through at the time, and why am I going through it? I have something I'm going through right now, and it's like, why? How come? So as I go later today or probably tomorrow, it's gonna be a long day today, obviously, but tomorrow, and I'll go into that, and it will show up as like this movie screen, just like right in front of me, and right in front of my face, and I'll be able to see the answers and why and how come and heal the problem that I have, and that's a way of doing it also too, but you know, um, the Akashic records are so important for people.
mhm.
Now, can you see just anybody's Akashic record, or do you have
If
to?
they give me permission, yes.
You can, okay.
And if the Akashic records are meant to be seen, if the universe is saying, yes, that's part of this, they're supposed to, that's part of the puzzle piece for what we're supposed to work on today. If it's not, the universe will not open it up for me, right? Because they're saying, well, no, actually, they need to work on this thing over here that they keep pushing off to the side. Let's bring that forward. And then we'll bring them back for another session that we can get into the Akashic records.
I love that. I absolutely love that. because
You
you're
know what I mean?
sticking, yeah, you're sticking with your guide and the notice and guidance you're getting.
Mhm.
And I like that. And that's being your true authentic self and true
And
to,
I'm honest with the person, you
hmm
know, because as we're negotiating the session, sometimes I don't start a session right at the beginning because at the right at that time because I like to have that intro of what do we need to work on, what are we gonna pull in, and a lot of times that one piece of like I was having a session the other day and you know she was talking about the anxiety she gets and I said stop, let's work on that because
hmm
that's going to be the whole piece of who you are. If you're standing in a job application, or if you're going to the grocery store, that anxiety is going to slow you down from walking yourself forward. And so instead of going to the Akashic records, that anxiety is what wanted to be talked to that day. You know,
right.
for that it was at a fair, so it was only a 20-minute session, 30-minute session, and so we worked on that for just that short time and I'm hoping, I don't know, but I'm hoping that that will give her the ability to unlock her own path of Akashic records in a way, you know, her
Right.
own path. Because to me, unlocking the Akashic records means that you're able to kind of walk freer in this lifetime, that things just fold out more for you as you walk your path.
hmm I like that. I like what you just said there. So when we're helping people with the Akashic records and finding what they need, but there are things in there that they should not remember. And that's happening in my guides. No, they are not to remember this. They're
Mm-hmm.
not to remember that. Don't give them that
Yeah.
answer. And I have to flat tell them, I was just told no. They do you more harm than good to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sometimes when people get really upset. But I'm not gonna open up an old wound that has been sealed. There's one on me that was sealed that somebody actually opened up. And it took months for me to heal that again, which
Exactly,
I
because the mind likes to negotiate with the negative.
right,
It wants
right,
to hold
right.
on to the negative. And like for me, I'll just say, you know, you might want to be careful driving instead of saying you're going to get in a car accident. You know, it's like the difference in the intentions and how you hold people. It's so amazing because, you know, it's not necessarily for us to pull out that for people, you know,
Mhm.
for me it's for about healing, it's about negotiations, and if something's going to be something that's going to throw you off a cliff, why would I want to do that to you?
Right, right,
Huh?
right, right.
You know, now I may say something that talks around it, that
Mhm.
gives enough information that talks around it to give somebody the energy of, oh yeah, you were in a war, you know, and da da da, you know, and so there's a little bit of trauma around being in that war. I won't tell them what happened in the war, right? But I'll tell
Right.
them maybe that they were in a war and that there's this trauma that came from it, and that's probably why you are kind of fearful of loud noises right now.
Yeah, it's like things close around my neck. I can't do it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this looks like it's close and it's really not, but it's like I can handle it because I can pull it down, right? Anything that
I'm
is,
the same way. Hmm.
I remember being my head chopped off. I was cut up, uh, drowned, hung, name it, they did it all to me.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Most light workers we have.
Yes. And people say, how'd you handle that as a goddess? Didn't they know you were one? No, they thought I
They
was a
did.
witch because I healed people.
Hmm. But that's the thing is that they didn't like somebody who was empowered.
No, no.
They wanted people who weren't.
Right. All right. We got 1 minute more left. But the thing is this really exciting time? I wanted Natasha mainly to have this whole segment time and keep talking. And our next segment, she's going to do the same. There are just a few things I want to talk about on that. But let's take a short break. We'll be right back with. Welcome back, everyone. So, actually, I just told Natasha this is Natasha's show today. I wanted people to get to know her and everything about her because I'm telling you, when I saw her light and saw her on TikTok and then on Instagram, it was just like, oh, I gotta talk to this woman. She's hilarious. She's funny, and but she's real and truthful, and that's what I loved about her. And I can see the love just gleaming through her eyes right now that comes from her. and like your background and everything has everything is all about you.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
it's like I believe in there's nothing that I don't believe in.
right,
It's like I believe pretty much, the star beings, the fae, I always believe like the fae of this planet are the star beings of this planet, right? And then we have the
right.
star beings and we're actually star beings too, but that's a
Yeah.
logistics. You know,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying because it's like elementals in my yard, in my house. I have a Fluffy.
hmm
No, I have a Fluffy. Fluffy is my look, I just lost his name. I got dragons out here. I have everything
hmm
on my property out here with me. He's a gargoyle. And one time a friend of mine came up the steps and said, "Oh, you got a new gargoyle statue." And I had a statue in my backyard, right? On the steps, right? Going out to my back deck. And I went and looked, and it was still there. And then I said, and she's very intuitive also. And it's like, I went and looked out. I said, "Oh, they had a baby." So I was like, "Okay, I got three here. Thank you." And they keep everything protected, and they always let me know if something's around. So that's why the
hmm
elementals, and they're very prominent right now during the Great Shift of Consciousness and what's
Oh,
happening.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And they're
Yeah.
letting you know if things are in your yard. As you went through that one experience, you got that warning, and they're everywhere. But and people need to pay attention to the phase and to. I have May Oliver that lives in my house with all the fairies here. They get all excited when I talk about them, and so I hear some giggling going on right now. Anyway, what more do you want our listeners to know about you?
Well, I want, if I could, is that my whole intention for living in this lifetime is to bring light and love to this planet. I've also had the process of wanting to awaken myself, and so, and have this trust that I can be me, and I love to bring that. So I've just redone my website actually, and the words that came through this guidance is that I want to bring people to their soulful bravery and the courage to make their life's next step, right? To that trust to move forward, because I talk to people about the breath, how important the breath is,
Right, 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 right,
and
right, right.
and how to act when you are called, how to listen to the universe, how to be, because I'm very much an observer. Like the other day I had two squirrels as I'm driving down my road, two squirrels go from west to east, right? So it's about gathering that new understanding, gathering that, what are we, remembering to play in the newness that's coming in for you. And it's like that whole process. And so I love to support people and having them witness their world around them a little bit more with how to be, like I've had people who have sat with me with grief and they're just so overwhelmed with the grief moment, and I give them the breath that they are where they perfectly are. You
Right,
know,
right.
the grief process, it's such a vulnerable place of awakening for your truer self to emerge.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going through the mud. It's almost like the lotus coming out of the mud,
Right,
that lotus flower coming out of the mud. You have to be able to know that stages of grief are just stages of grief, and sometimes they're like blinders on at the beginning. You just are in, like I used to have to write down things like remember to eat, remember to drink water, remember, because grief, especially when you have grief over and over again, it's a trauma thing. And I had, at the same time I was having kids, my parents passed away. Like one
mhm.
summer I bought my first house. 6 weeks later, my dad died. 6 weeks later, my first son was born. And then 3 years later after that, my mom, after my dad passed away, she started getting ill and found out 3 weeks after my second child was born that she had Lou Gehrig's disease. So
Oh
that
wow.
whole first year and in that year of my mom moving in with me, I sold our family home, a rental home, my personal family home, because my parents bought the home from my great grandparents. So the family home, a rental home, my home, and we bought this home that we're in now. And actually, my mom passed away in this room right here. Her
Mm-hmm.
bed was right at this window. And and so as my second child was starting to walk, she was stopping to walk. As my second child was starting to eat, she was stopping eating. And it was just interesting how the transformation over. And then 2 years later after that, her brother got Lou Gehrig's disease. And so I was his caretaker because I was the only grandchild. So at 30, I was the oldest of the generation because all my family of my mom's side passed away within 7 years. And
Oh
so
my
that
gosh.
trauma of grief, oh my gosh, my husband even says you're not the same woman that you married, that I married, right?
Hmm.
And so going into this, that I love to, and I'm called to, and I'm so honored to help people go through their life's journey and how can they come up out of it with a little bit of, oh, like I've had somebody in a session go, Natasha, I've been going through 5 years of counseling, and in this hour session, I've learned more about myself and gotten all the connections of why things have happened. And I know I can walk forward. It's like I just want people to have breath in their life, that they're perfectly imperfect, and they can just go be who they need to be in spite of the realities that they've lived in.
Right. So can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Intuitiveclarifications.com is my website,
Hmm.
and you can find me on most social medias besides Facebook. I got hacked off of that one for a good reason. And so that's how I look at life.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
but Natasha Venter IC, I have over 1,200 videos on my YouTube channel. I've been on Twitter. Got over 2,000 tweets on Twitter. It's like I've been out there for a long time bringing light and love to this planet. And you'll notice on my videos that, like, I had a video that was 30 years after my mom passed away, and it was just one of those things that I was real.
Right, right.
I
Eh,
I just love to be here to support people one way or the other. And doing a personal session, though, brings in that personalness of supporting you in what your story is.
right. Do you ever do sessions with groups?
Yes, I love doing group mediumships.
Good.
I had one in my house one time that everyone had lost a child in one form or another, and it was interesting how a one who committed suicide daughter came through and had messages for all the moms that
Oh,
were
wow.
there. It was
Wow.
I was just in awe of that moment, and just so feeling so blessed to be a messenger for the universe of love.
I love being a trans medium. I'm not no more. There's parts of me that still is, but that part has been asleep and dormant now, because we'll talk about that on your show. The thing is that being able to bring that information through for them,
Hmm.
and giving that to
You
them.
can see on my face,
Yeah,
it's like, oh.
yeah. So I mean, and because, well, we'll get more into that in the show on your show. But the thing about it is bringing in the different energies that are needed to help somebody go through a grieving time. And grief is not just death.
It's not.
Grief can be any situation you are in. So you know what, everyone, I'm gonna
Not having the restaurant you usually go to can be full of grief, and
right,
it could be the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back, or whatever you want to say that,
right, right, right,
because you've had so many other traumatic or life altering moments in front of that.
right. No, that's very true. I just want to thank you for being on the show today, and you bless us all so much with your light. I'm so happy that I had you. I'm glad that you're put in my path.
I am too. I'm just so grateful the universe brought us together. This
I
is
think that we're going to do some more things together, and I think it'd be a great time. So, Natasha, we have about 2 minutes left. The one thing that I want to say is to everybody, look at Natasha's website. Look at, I wouldn't look at it today. Actually, it's absolutely beautiful. Things be a little crazy for me, as Natasha knows, but and her TikToks and Instagram, the message that she gives of light and how to help people, and it's not scripted. And I don't do my stuff like that scripted either. I just talk and I say who I am, what it's about. But anyway, so I want to thank you so much for joining me on the Goddess Emergence, where we merge together, merge better. You made this show wonderful.
you.
I love you, and Goddess bless. And we'll see
Love you
everyone
too.
again soon next time on the Goddess Emergence.
Thank you for listening to the Goddess Emergence Show with Dr. Brie Gibbs. Tune in. the first and third Wednesday of each month at 2 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com to experience Spiritual Pathway that addresses your physical health, emotional frequency, mental clarity, and spiritual well-being, all in perfect harmony. This isn't just an ideal. It is the comprehensive nature of the Goddess Emergence Show with Dr. Brie, a spiritual leader, healer, and trance medium who, alongside the Goddess Bell and the Creator, offer messages from the Masters never shared or released on the planet. Beyond the show, Dr. Brie offers individual and group sessions at drbriegibbs.com. That's drbriegibbs.com. We hope to see you next time.